Hi everyone and welcome back to 5 Minute Family Search. So what I would like to teach you now is how to use the search feature in Family Search. So right now I'm on the page that you come to right after you log in, and I am going to come up here to the top of the page, and in the middle here you'll see it says Family Tree and Search. I'm going to come here on Search. All of these other subfolders pop up. You can just ignore those. We are just going to touch on that search button. And when we do, it's going to bring us to this page here. And this page allows us to search through the millions and millions of historical records on Family Search. Now, those records could be anything from a marriage record to a death record, a birth record, an obituary. There's millions and millions of records that we can search through to find any information for our ancestors. So for me, on teaching you, I'm going to use an easy one. I'm going to use my grandfather, but I want to pretend that I don't have any information on him. So I know his first name was Albert, and I've typed that in there on the first name. I'm going to come in on the last name, and I'm going to type in Vriesacker. I'm going to come down here, and it says search with a life event, either a birth, a marriage, a residence, or a death. I am just going to put in his birthplace. Like I said, it's better to keep things broad and to be able to narrow it down so we can find as much information as possible. So like I said, even though I know all this other information, I don't want to add that in. Other options here are search with a relationship. In another video, I already showed you how to do a parental search. Here, I could type in his spouse. So my grandmother was Jane Wildner. I could type that in, and that would help pull up like a marriage certificate for him, or it would pull up marriage certificates for their children, because normally on those marriage certificates, it'll list the bride and groom's parents. So that would be a good way if I want to make sure I find all of the marriage records with their names on them. But I don't want to do that right now. I just want to keep it very general. So I've put in his first name, his last name, and his birthplace. And I'm going to come down here to the bottom of the screen, and you can just ignore all this right here. I'm just going to touch search. Above it, it says match all terms exactly. I never use that because if I do, say Albert Vriesacker, Wisconsin, if somebody put him in a different state, it's not going to pull up my grandfather because I didn't the computer couldn't match it exactly. So we very rarely will touch on that. We're just going to touch the search button. And that is going to bring us to this page here. This page has gone through the millions and millions of records, and it has found 58 results for Albert Vriesacker, birthplace of Wisconsin. So I was able to quickly go through and to find his information. Now, if his name was a little more difficult to narrow down, I could come over here to the left-hand side of the screen, and it says refine your search, and I could do that. I could come in and I could put his birth here. And so if I did that, it would narrow it down even more. So I wouldn't get 58 results. I would only get the people who were born in Wisconsin in that same year that my grandfather was born. And so that was a very quick way to go from being very broad to being much more specific. So like I said, if I was going to change anything, I could just say, I'm sorry, I may have done that too quick. I'm over here on the left side of the page. I could come down here to birth year, and I could have just typed in 1918, and I would just scroll down here and I would hit update. And so now it's just going to show me the people who were born in 1918. And so it narrowed it down to 7. And so I actually would like to take this out though because I want it to pull up more records so I can show you a little bit more information. And so here we are back, and I'm back at Albert Vriesacker, and it has pulled up my grandfather first and foremost because these were the ones that matched my terms much more specifically than the ones that will follow. And so I can look here, and this is Albert Vriesacker. This was taken from a census report in 1920. I can look in here and I can see his birth, where he resided. I can see the name of his father, of his mother, and then there's other people that are listed in that census report as well. So if I didn't have any information on him, this would have been very exciting to be able to come in here and to find this information and to find so much so quickly. Now, let me click on this so you can see what it looks like. When I do, it shows me this is the census report. And this really is exciting, I think. This is the actual picture of it right here. You can see the original document. And I always think that makes this so much more real when you can actually see the person's name written out and all the information that goes with him. And here he was 2 years old when they did the census report. And so I can come in, I can copy it, I can print it, I can source box it, and we're going to talk about that in a different video, or I can share that. Now I'm going to come down, and here these are the other people that were living in the household at the time. His father, so it says head, his mother, his brother, this is my grandpa, and then this was his sister. So like I said, if I didn't have any information, I just came in here right now and I found all this information that I could have plugged in for my grandfather and had so much more understanding of an ancestor that I didn't know. Like I said, this is somebody I do know, so it's easier to teach. But I have had these instances where I don't have any information on anybody, and then all of a sudden I have just tons and tons of information and I'm able to process through their ordinances. If you continue to come down, I can see there's a Social Security death index listed for him, a public record, and then an obituary. Now I've passed that 5 minute mark, so please forgive me. If you want, you can turn it off right here. But I would like to show you down here is a really exciting thing called FindAGrave. And I'm going to do another video, I probably should, on how to use that source. It's a separate website. But I'm going to click on my grandfather's name. And when I do, it opens it up just like it did for that census report. But see here to the right, instead of having that picture, it gives me the opportunity to go to FindAGrave and to look at it. So I am going to go over to FindAGrave. Now FindAGrave is a website and it's set up by people who are called cemetery rats. And they go around cemeteries and they take pictures of headstone and gather the obituaries and they plug in the information, and that has created FindAGrave. And you actually yourself can have that opportunity if you would like to do that. You can go around and take pictures of headstones and upload them into FindAGrave. So when I clicked on that, it took me here. I can see here they have put a picture in of my grandfather, all of his information. And like I said, if I did not know anything about this relative, I would be so excited because this ancestor just came alive to me. I can see his birth, his death. I can see all this information about him. He was in the military. Here was what he did for a living, where he went to school, who he survived by. All of this information is just here, and his obituary itself. And so this is just an amazing resource that I will teach you in a later video of how you can go in and find your relatives. But we are going to bounce back here to show you that we got to this just by coming in to Family Search and going through the search records. We typed in his first name, his last name, and where he was born, and we were able to come up with all these different sources for him. And so I would be able to go in and pull down all this information, add him into Family Tree, add all the information that I need to, and then I can process his ordinance work, take his name to the temple, and have everything done for him. So that is how you search in the search bar on Family Search.